Hello VC, this is my second video for the vinyl community. It's been about a week since I did my introduction video, so I thought it was about time I did a second video. In my first video I said I was going to talk in this video about my history with vinyl and CD and the differences between them. But I've thought since then that it would probably be better just to leap straight in and show some records and talk about some records. So that's what I'm going to do this time, and I'll leave that other topic till another video. What I'm going to do in this video is to talk about some of the records that I've listened to in the last 12 months where my appreciation of them has been significantly influenced by the fact that I've listened to them on vinyl. Some of you will probably be saying that, you know, it's always better to listen to something on vinyl and on CD or in another format, and that may be true, but these particular records, I've found that there's something about them that has meant my experience of them has been greatly improved and heightened by the fact that I've been listening to them on vinyl. So the first one is one that I won't talk about too much because I showed this in my first video, but I just wanted to show it again because it really was a superb listening experience. This is Milton Nascimento and Lo Borghese Club Ja Esquina. Club on the Corner is the English translation. It's from 1972. It's I won't say too much about it except to say I've had this on CD for a long time, and generally speaking, I haven't been trying to replace my CD albums with vinyl, but I couldn't resist this one, and I'm really glad I got the vinyl because there's something. I know that the people talk about there being a warmth to vinyl that you don't get in CD, but there's also a delicacy in the vinyl listening experience, and even though CDs have got that sort of accuracy of reproduction, they lack a certain delicacy, and this is a record that really calls for that, because partly because of Milton Nascimento's voice. It's a very delicate, finely balanced voice, and there's something about Brazilian melody too. I think it uses a lot of half tones or flattened notes, and voices can sound like they're poised on the edge of disaster. And when they're reaching hitting those flattened notes, and the delicacy of vinyl really brings that out and heightens it. And this is just a fabulous record. It's like diving into the cool water of a rock pool in a forest clearing on a summer's day. That's how I feel about listening to that record. Second record I want to talk about today is this one. It's actually been shown on the Facebook page for the vinyl community today by Derek. This one, and it's sort of follow-up record which I'll show today as well. The United States of America from 1968. It's a classic. It's progressive, psychedelic, experimental art rock. This is a 2008 reissue, but this is how it was originally marketed when it came out in '68 in a paper bag. Inside is the cover, which I think was the original cover for the release in Europe and the UK. And on the back, it's got all the lyrics and details of the musicians and instruments and so forth. This record was groundbreaking in lots of ways to do with the instrumentation, use of electronic instruments, even instruments which haven't, which electronic devices which haven't been purpose designed as musical instruments were used in this. It was a group that was unusual in lots of ways, including the fact that it didn't have a guitar in it. One of the few popular music bands that without lead guitar or rhythm guitar. When I listen to this album, I can't help comparing it to the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's in a number of ways. I think thematically they're similar. Both records, I think, are to do with the clash between convention and experimentation, and it's expressed musically as well as lyrically. You know, in Sgt. Pepper, you get the contrast between Paul McCartney's love of music hall and all the experimentation to do with the use of the studio in and instrumentation in the music, and you get that in this as well with Joseph Byrd, the main songwriter's fascination with ragtime and marching bands, which features in the introductions to some of the tracks. And the contrast between that and the more obviously psychedelic and experimental musical forms that form this album, and also lyrically in terms of the clash between the conventional culture, conventional institutions like the family, and the experimentation of the 60s, including drug taking and psychedelic experiences. It would be rash of me to say that this is a better album than Sgt. Pepper's, but I think it's harder edged. The edge is taken off of some of the tracks in Sgt. Pepper's, because there's a sentimentality there, a beauty in the music. This has got beautiful music in it, but it's a lot harder edged. I mean, you only have to look at the titles, like you've got She's Leaving Home. It's sort of a critique of the family, but it's also quite sentimental in Sgt. Pepper's. And the comparable track on this one is something like I Won't Leave My Wooden Wife for You, Sugar. And you can see that's a much sort of harder edge, hard-nosed look at similar sorts of themes. And you always get the impression when you listen to the Beatles and particularly Sgt. Pepper's that even though the world's changing drastically, it's going to work out in the end. When you listen to this album, you're not so sure it'll work out. This is the other one that was also shown today. This is Joe Byrd and the Field Hippies, the American Metaphysical Circus. Joe Byrd was as I said, the driving force and composer of the United States of America. And the United States of America broke up after that first and only album, and he went on in '69 to release this album. It's many of the same themes and many of the same approaches musically, even greater use of ragtime and marching music actually in this one. And in some ways it's even more critical and satirical about the contemporary American culture and by extension Western culture. But it's just not quite, it doesn't hang together quite as well. It's not quite as impressive. And even this particular pressing, this is a reissue as well, but this particular pressing wasn't as good as the 2008 reissue of the United States of America that I've got. This is actually a bit noisy. The other one was beautifully quiet. But it's still worth listening to. It's still definitely an album that's worth listening to. Something quite different, timeless, Mulatu Astaki. This is part of a series of albums or recordings of concerts that were organised by Mochila Records of artists who were particularly influential in hip-hop circles, whether it was their particular stable of artists or just generally, I'm not sure. But they put on this series of concerts in 2009. One was Mulatu Astatke, one was Arthur Verocai, the Brazilian composer and arranger. The third one was James Yancey, J. Dilla, a suite of music, of his music, arranged for a 60-piece orchestra called Suite for Ma Jukes. Ma Jukes was his mother who nursed him when he was suffering from his terminal illness. This is a wonderful record. I'd like to get the other two in the series. The Mochila Records is sold out of them, but they're available on Discogs and elsewhere. This has got a stellar orchestra of LA jazz luminaries. Benny Maupin is probably the most famous of them. He's famous from his work with Herbie Hancock on the Headhunters album and other albums with the Headhunters group that grew out of that album. But it's just fabulous. It's a double record set. That's the if I can hold it in the right place, gatefold, and it's just the crystal clarity and beautiful playing, and you really feel like you're there on the night. I haven't explained who Mulatu Astatke is. He's an Ethiopian vibe player who developed his own take on jazz, combining Ethiopian forms, musical forms, with Latin forms to develop his own unique jazz idiom, and it's just wonderful. Okay, lastly for this one, because it's getting a bit long, is this album, Vladislav Delay Quartet. It's a self-titled album. It's Vladislav Delay is the pseudonym of a Finnish Finnish musician called, let me see, I've written it down here, Sasu Rapati. When I bought this, I thought it would be free jazz, and it is free jazz. It's got this basic structure of free jazz underlay, but it's also a type of music that's called glitch, which is a music that's based on sonic effects that are produced by random actions, random processes. So it's a kind of noise music, and it's quite confronting at first. There's a sort of arc to it's a double album. There's a sort of arc to it. It starts off very noisy and confronting and grating, and at first when I started to listen to it, I thought, am I going to be able to listen to this all the way through? But it becomes more subtle and nuanced as you go on, and partly that's a change in the music, and partly it's because, as with all good music that you're unfamiliar with, if you give yourself over to it, the music teaches you how to listen to it, how to appreciate it. And that's what I found with this one. And by the end, I found myself wanting to hear more from Vladislav Delay. And so that's a terrific album that I highly recommend. Okay, well, I had more albums that I wanted to talk about, but I don't want to go on for too long in this video, so I'll reserve those other albums for another time. Thanks for watching.